The day he was born was the quietest, loudest day of my life. All the noise of the world, the traffic, the hospital machines, it all just faded into a low hum. The only thing I could hear was his first cry, and then the sound of my own heart, beating a rhythm for him. My husband, Mark, held my hand. His eyes were full of everything: awe, fear, a love so big it seemed to spill out of him. We were a family. In that sterile white room under the fluorescent lights, we had created a perfect, fragile world. We had a plan for that world, a savings account we'd been building for years. It was our future. A down payment on a house with a yard, college tuition, a safety net woven from disciplined saving and shared dreams. We'd made his mother a signatory on the account, just in case, an emergency contact, a fail-safe. It felt like the responsible thing to do, a gesture of trust. Family, after all, is supposed to be the ultimate safety net. The first few weeks were a blur of sleepless nights and impossible love. I'd just sit and watch our son sleep, his tiny chest rising and falling. It felt like watching a miracle. The world outside our little bubble didn't seem to matter. Bills, emails, bank statements, they were all distant concepts from another life. It was Mark who noticed it first. He was paying some bills online one late night while I was feeding the baby. I remember the silence from the other room. It was a different kind of quiet. Not peaceful, it was heavy. He walked into the nursery, his face pale. He just held the laptop out to me. I had to squint to see the screen in the dim light. I saw the account balance, and I didn't understand. The number was wrong. It was so wrong that it felt like a typo, a glitch in the system. $58,000. Gone. Our first thought was fraud, a hack. Someone had stolen our identity, our future. We were on the phone with the bank the next morning, a sense of frantic panic rising in our chests. The customer service representative was calm, methodical. She put us on hold. The music was tinny, awful. When she came back, her voice had changed. She said, "Ma'am, the withdrawal wasn't online. It was an in-person, over-the-counter transaction." An in-person withdrawal? The words didn't compute. Who would do that? Who could do that? She continued, her voice professionally detached. The withdrawal was made on... and she named the date. The day our son was born. The world tilted. Mark and I just looked at each other. There were only 3 people who could access that account. Me, him, and his mother. I was in a hospital bed hooked up to monitors. Mark was by my side the entire time, never leaving. That left only one possibility. A possibility so monstrous, so unthinkable that my mind refused to accept it. It had to be a mistake, a terrible, cosmic mistake. We went to the bank the next day. The baby was in his carrier, sleeping, oblivious. The branch manager was sympathetic. He led us to a small, windowless office. He said he could show us the security footage from the transaction. He turned the monitor towards us. My heart was a cold, hard stone in my chest. The timestamp in the corner of the screen showed the exact hour I was in labor. The camera angle was from above, grainy and black and white. But the person standing at the counter was unmistakable. It was her, Mark's mother, my mother-in-law, the grandmother of my newborn son. She looked so normal. She was wearing the beige coat she always wore. Her hair was neat. She smiled at the teller. She slid the withdrawal slip across the counter. There was no hesitation, no flicker of guilt. Just a calm, methodical transaction. She took the envelope of cash, put it in her purse, and walked out of the frame. The manager turned off the monitor. The screen went black. In the reflection, I could see our faces. Two strangers, hollowed out by a truth they could never have imagined. We didn't speak. What was there to say? We had just watched our family implode on a grainy security camera video. We had watched her steal our son's future on the very day he was born. The drive home was silent. The baby started to fuss, and the sound felt alien, intrusive. How do you confront someone about something like this? How do you form the words? Did you steal $58,000 from your own son and grandchild while I was giving birth? When we finally did, she didn't deny it. Not really. She tried to justify it. There were debts, she said, problems we knew nothing about. She said she was going to pay it back. She cried, but her tears felt like a performance. The calmness I saw on that video, that was the truth. The truth was, she had made a choice. On the day her first grandchild was entering the world, she chose to betray him, to betray us. The money was never the point. Not really. It was the trust. It was the casual cruelty of the timing. To commit such a profound act of betrayal during a moment of such profound vulnerability and joy. It's a wound that doesn't heal. It's a poison that seeps into everything. Every holiday, every birthday, every family gathering is now stained by it. We see her and we smile and we pretend for our son's sake. But we are not the same. The foundation of our family is gone, replaced by a void of what-ifs and the chilling memory of a woman in a beige coat smiling as she broke our world.